Hi, and welcome to Horror Recapped. Today we'll be discussing a 2005 American horror film titled Reeker. Beware, spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The movie begins with a boy and his mother in a car driving down a desert highway. The father is fast asleep in the back seat with the dog. The mother and son play a game called I Spy. The mother, who is intrigued by the game, gets distracted and hits a deer. The family stops to check the damage done to the car. The father goes into the woods to search for the dog that had gone in there. The dog comes back with blood on its fur and walks abnormally toward the mother, who is standing outside the car, while her son is inside the car. The father comes out of the woods with half his face gone. Next, we cut to a guy named Trip as he holds a tablet with the word killer written on it. Trip purchases a few of these from his acquaintance, dressed in a lab coat. As the man leaves the room, Trip is quick to grab the remainder of the man's stash. He then leaves the place in a hurry and goes to meet his friend named Nelson, who introduces him to his other group of friends, a boy and two girls named Jack, Cookie, and Gretchen. Jack is a blind boy. They drive to a party located in a desert where the previous family had an accident. The group stops at a restaurant and Trip tells Nelson about their dealer, who he has just duped. While they discuss the story of a doctor who lost his medical license after he slept with a cadaver, Trip receives a call from the man he just stole from, saying, "I may be crazy, but I am not stupid." After his webcam captured Trip in the act, he gives Trip an ultimatum to return the products, or else. Trip announces to his worried friends that it was a wrong number. Trip and his friends continue their journey while Gretchen realizes that Trip brought the tablets with him. Gretchen is angry as she tells Trip to get a new ride. After many pleas from the group, she decides to drop Trip back at the restaurant to prevent him from being stranded, since there was no signal. They get to the restaurant where Gretchen's car stops working, and Trip helps her fix the problem, but the car is still in need of gas. Gretchen is touched by Trip's gesture and apologizes. Later, the group notices Jack's absence and eventually find him inside the restaurant. The once lively restaurant is now empty, with no one present. They begin to search for a signal. This is futile, and eventually they settle for an empty motel. Cookie and Jack are in a room, where Cookie finds a Bible with blood on the text. Cookie leaves the room, leaving behind Jack on the bed. Jack hears a sound and goes to investigate, but what he doesn't see, due to his blindness, is the woman from before, with a disfigured form, carving, "Tell my son I love him," on a table. Jack, not seeing anything, goes back into the other room. Trip goes in search of gas, while the rest of the group chat with one another until Cookie calls their attention when she sees a woman behind a window staring at them. Nelson and Cookie go into the room to search, but they don't find anyone. Nelson finds alcohol on a table, and as he pours it into a glass for the both of them, a woman appears behind Nelson, but disappears before anyone notices. Trip, on his search for gas, sees his dealer has arrived. Opening the trunk of a black car, Trip runs for his dear life without listening to what he had to say. Gretchen goes to search for Cookie and Nelson, and she finds both of them dancing and leaves the two alone with a smile on her face. Trip continues to run and he finds an elderly man in a truck who offers him a ride. The old man is happy to see a human being for the first time since his search for his wife. The man drops Trip at the motel. Trip introduces the man to his friends. Gretchen finds him weird. A paranoid Trip enters a room where Cookie and Nelson are making out, telling them to lock their door and let no one in. Trip goes outside and hears the scream of a man coming from the refuse bin. Trip opens the refuse bin to see a man screaming for help as he bangs the refuse bin with his hand. Trip pulls the man up only to see he has no legs and uses his hands to run. The old man comes out of his truck, and they both become aware of people with half or deformed bodies moving about. He goes back to his truck, where he soon dies to a choking smell released in the truck, with images flooding his memory as he dies. Jack and Gretchen stay outside in a separate tent arranged by the two. Gretchen tells Jack about her boyfriend, who is also Jack's roommate. She suspects he is seeing someone else, and she had hoped going to the party would settle any misunderstanding they had. Jack tries to console her by saying, "You deserve better." Tripp continues his search for a signal when a man in black holding a drill-like object appears behind him, with the release of a choking smell. Cookie and Nelson are kissing intensely when they hear a sound from outside. The two are undisturbed as they continue their makeout, but Cookie goes outside to relieve herself in an outhouse. Suddenly, blood begins to drop on her from the ceiling. She is still confused, as a stench is released, causing her to choke. She struggles for her life, but she is overpowered and is pulled down below into a hole with a sharp blade. Unorganized images flood her memory. Nelson, waiting for Cookie's arrival, goes in search of her but doesn't find her, and concludes that she is with Tripp after hearing a moaning sound coming from the next door. A jealous Nelson goes into his room with a sad look on his face, but he is disturbed as he is pulled down to the floor by an unknown force. As Nelson tries to stabilize himself, a drill appears from below the floor and begins to cut through. Nelson stands on his bed, but he begins to choke from a stench released in the room. He uses a blanket to cover himself as he jumps from his bed, breaking through a window. Nelson lands outside his room where Jack and Gretchen find him after hearing a loud sound. Nelson dies after broken glass from the window cuts through his neck, and blood begins to gush out with images flooding his memory before he dies. At that moment, Gretchen discovers the absence of Tripp, and Gretchen begins to search for them. Gretchen and Jack head to the man's truck where they find him dead. She goes to search for Tripp and Cookie, while Jack tries to make an emergency call for help. Jack, scared of being alone, attaches a rope to the truck while he searches for help outside the truck. Jack can hear voices around him, but literally can't see anybody. Gretchen continues her search when she realizes the weapon she kept in the drawer was no longer there. Jack is lost as the rope he attached to the truck is cut. He begins to choke as a man in black approaches with the release of a stench. Gretchen calls out Jack's name as the man in black tries to insert a drill into his head, but he is stopped by Tripp, who appears at that moment with only one hand and shoots at the man in black. They all run into a room, but the man in black appears with his stench, choking Gretchen. Tripp tries to save Gretchen and the man in black inserts his drill inside him, with blades cutting through him. Images flood his memory as he dies. Tripp throws the weapon to Gretchen before he dies, which she uses to shoot at the man in black whenever he appears. The man appears behind Jack and inserts his drill into his head as Gretchen fumbles for the weapon. Jack pulls the mask off of the man whose face seems to have decayed. Gretchen helps Jack into her car, where he tells her that she has brown eyes before he falls unconscious. Gretchen is quick to fill her tank with gas from a container she finds on the floor. Gretchen starts the car as the man tries to drill into her car from above. He jumps down from the top of her car, and Gretchen uses this opportunity to hit him with the car. The man doesn't appear anymore, causing Gretchen to relax as she drives away from the scene with a victorious look on her face. She turns on her radio and wonders how Jack knew she had brown eyes. Gretchen is soon disturbed as Jack begins to cough when the man with the stench appears again. Gretchen drives the car sideways, causing an accident after Jack whispers, "Never be scared of death." Gretchen is helped by the dealer, who calls the police for assistance. The police appear to be complaining about 3 accidents occurring that day at the same place, which caused the life of a whole family to be wiped out. We learn that the family, Tripp and his friends, the old man and his wife, all had car accidents that day, and what played out was death claiming their souls. At the end of the movie, we see a now recovered Gretchen and Jack holding hands and talking. They talk about how Jack had been able to see her eyes for just a moment as the accident happened. And that's how he knew they were brown despite being blind. And that's a wrap for Reeker. Let us know your thoughts in the comments section. If you would like to look into other movies with us, then be sure to click the like button and subscribe to our channel. Turn on notifications so you don't miss a single video. Thanks for watching.